Alright, so here we go. Time for another tutorial. Today it's going to be an Ocarina from Legend of Zelda. Three colours you're going to need: gold and silver, and then some sort of blue. This is a mix of denim and purple. If you want to turn it into like a necklace ornament, you're going to want an eye pin as well. As well as that, you're going to want something like a pin, or like what you've got here, just to make indents. Alright, so get about the right amount that you want for the size of it, and then you're going to want to take a little bit off for the mouthpiece. Put that to one side for now. Get it out into a ball shape first of all, and then from one end you're going to want to roll it so it flattens out like that in one way. And then you're going to want to keep on moving your finger down to get a sharper point. So it looks a bit more like that. And then you can do a little bit on this side. And that's the shape of it there. You can play about with how long you want it and how sharp you want the thing is, but this is alright for me. Alright, so with that bit that you took off earlier, you're going to want to roll that into a ball, and then you're going to want to press sharply down on one side of it while you roll it. So it looks like just a little version of this. And then what I tend to do is use my fingernail and press against that big part of it, so it makes like a cone shape. And you can see how it sizes up, and that looks pretty nice. So sometimes it'll attach to itself quite well. Sometimes you might need to use like a bacon bond. So that seems to attach quite well. I'm just going to flatten it off with a soft rubber end. Alright, so that's attached now. Now's your time to do any last minute adjustments, like making it a bit thinner, squishing the end a little bit. Alright, don't worry too much if the seam is a bit untidy, because you're going to be covering that up later. So just make sure you've got a flatter-ish end on the top, because you're going to be putting a hole in there. Alright, so for this next step, you want to go and get some of your silver, and if you can, you're going to want some plastic wrap. This is like a sandwich bag type plastic, not cling film. You don't need this necessarily, but it just makes it a lot easier. So what you're going to do is you're going to press this on here, and then you can flatten it out so it's quite thin, but still thick enough that you can work it. Alright, now what I'm going to do is get a knife blade, and I'm going to cut along one edge to give it a nice flat edge, and take that away. Right, so now I can measure up on the ocarina. I'm going to want the silver going from the bottom to about halfway up this mouthpiece, somewhere between a third and halfway up. So I'm going to measure it to see how far I need to cut it up, and then cut that. Alright, so that's a nice thin piece which should wrap around and look nice. So I can take this off of here now and wrap it along the bottom. You might want to use like a glue stick or something to help you wrap it round. And just to press it in a bit more. Alright, so there we go. That's the silver put on now. And now it's time for the gold. Alright, so now time for the red. You can do the same as you did with the silver and flatten it onto the plastic. Right, now you're going to want this quite thin, as thin as you can make it. So I'm going to take the knife blade again and create a straight edge. Alright, so now I'm going to cut it into a couple of lines, but I'm going to want these lines really, really small. I'm going to want them about a third of the size of this silver line. And what might be easier is if you do two of those lines on top of each other. I'll show you why in a sec. Alright, so you might just be able to see there. That's two really thin lines. Alright, so this is to make the Triforce symbol. So what I'm going to do is cut at a diagonal here, and then there, and so on, and I'll show you afterwards. Right, so you might barely be able to make it out there, just in the middle on its own. That's a small triangle cut up into 4 triangles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the knife blade, get one single piece, and then transfer it onto here. So we go, that's the first one. So I'm going to put on the other 2 triangles in the shape of the Triforce. Alright, so this is really, really tiny. You can probably just about make it up. It'll come up better on the picture after the video. But that's how small it is. So I'm going to do that on both sides. Alright, so there it is. It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be at first, but it looks good. So that's all the clay that you have to pour on it. If you want to turn it into a necklace, a charm, put your eye pin in now. And the way I put in it is just behind the mouthpiece. And that's where I'm going to be keeping mine. So now it's time to put the holes in. So get whatever tool you're using. I'm going to be using a couple of different ones. So I've got like a clay thing that I'm going to be using. So there's a few different variations of where the holes are, but the most common one is the one that I'm about to show you. So we're going to start on this side and we're going to put 4 holes in a sort of a curved shape. So it's going to be in that sort of a shape. And then you're going to do sort of the same, but curving way this way around instead. Right, so typically on the back side there's only 3 holes. So you got that one with all the ones, and on this side you got your 3 holes. So there's one up towards the mouthpiece, and then one near the front, and one halfway between the middle and the back. So like that. You're going to want to make sure you don't forget where you actually blow into. So I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver and just press it in lengthways. And that gives it more of a flat look instead of a round. And that's that finished. So it's going to go in the oven 110 degrees for about 10 minutes until it's done. and then we're ready to go on jewellery. And I'll put some pictures after this of what it looks like then. Otherwise, thanks for watching this tutorial, and let me know if you like this sort of stuff, and see you for the next one. Bye.